let's talk about something nobody wants to think about: estate taxes. How will this impact your farm succession plan? What's going on in Washington that's going to change that? And does it impact you where you live in your state? And let's remember also, you're never going to be the one that pays the estate tax. It'll be your estate or your kids that pay it, not you, because by the time it's owed, you'll be dead. Watch this video to learn more. Hey there, I'm Jason Wagner, the farm lawyer. So we're going to talk about estate taxes in this video, and specifically digging into what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the federal estate tax. If you own land, equipment, life insurance, this affects you, and we're going to walk through it. So what's happening at the federal level? We do have a federal estate tax, and right now it kicks in when the value of your estate is $13.9 million. But you and your spouse both have that exemption. So if you're married, we've got a pretty healthy level of protection there. What would happen, though, if we don't get this, what's being called the Big Beautiful Bill passed, is the federal estate tax exemption will be cut in half. So let's say that's going to be down to $7 million. And that's going to occur on December 31st, 2025, unless Congress passes this bill. So what they've proposed and what has been passed in the Senate and now has to go back to the House, but we at this point pretty much think it's going to go, is that we'll have a permanent exemption starting on January 1st of 2026. The new permanent exemption amount will be $15 million per person. So this is getting us a clean slate. We're no longer looking back to, right now, it's a $5 million exemption plus the bonus exemption plus inflation, which is how we get to our $13.9 million. Instead, we'll be wiping the slate clean and saying, start with $15 million on January 1st, 2026. That will adjust for inflation going forward, but we no longer have to be concerned about making gifts during this so-called bonus period, which is what we've been in for the last 10 years. So that gives us a little bit of better flexibility and certainty as planners. We don't have to worry that, we're using our permanent exemption before using our bonus exemption. Instead, we'll be starting over. We'll get a fresh $15 million plus inflation. I should note, if you've already used your exemption, that doesn't mean you get a new $15 million exemption. It just means that we no longer have to break it out between the bonus exemption and the permanent exemption and what's the inflation back from 2010. We're starting this at 2026, $15 million. This is still going to be a unified exemption, which means that if you've given away assets during your life, they would be deducted from that $15 million. So let's say I was worried about this rollback of the federal exemption, and I gave away $13 million in 2024 so that I knew that I was going to be locked in. Well, good. You got it out of your estate. You're using estate tax laws as they exist now. But starting on January 1st of 2026, you'll have your $15 million minus the 13 that you already gave away. So you'll be left with $2 million, which is a whole lot better than it going to zero. And remember, that's still going to be adjusted for inflation at the $15 million. So if it goes up by $900,000 of inflation in 2027, that will be tacked on to your existing amount, your $2 million, for example. Now we need to think about state estate taxes, okay? There are a number of states that have state-level estate taxes. It's 12 states plus Washington, D.C. Not a whole lot of farms going on in Washington, D.C. But here in the state of Minnesota, where I'm coming from, we do have a state-level estate tax that is not pegged to inflation. It is not going up, and we're dealing with the same estate tax law we've been dealing with for the past several years. So what is that? It's a $3 million exemption. Everybody gets it. Plus, farmers or small business owners, you can get an additional $2 million deduction. I have a whole guide video on how to make sure that you're qualifying for that $2 million deduction. It's on my channel, farmlawyer.com. Check out my YouTube channel, Farm Lawyer, where I walk through, just a real user-friendly guide on making sure that we're getting that $2 million family farmland deduction. So, Minnesota does not have a gift tax, though. Unlike the federal, where it's a unified exemption, here's your $15 million, use it now, use it when you die, whatever, we don't care. But if you go over $15 million of gift or death gifts, we're going to tax you on it. Here in the state of Minnesota, if you die with $3 million, you're fine. If it goes over $3 million, it's potentially taxable. But even though we don't have a gift tax, we have a look back. So if I gave away $10 million the day before I died, that whole $10 million is coming back into the estate, okay? Or to my example of, let's say that farmer gave away $13 million in 2024 in order to avoid the federal rollback, but then they die in 2026, and let's say they don't even have any assets left. They gave everything away. It's all gone, all of it. Well, we're going to have to pull that entire $13 million back into the estate. It's going to be taxable in their estate. So another important difference between the federal estate tax and the state estate tax is that our Minnesota estate tax does not include portability. It's been proposed in St. Paul many years. It doesn't go anywhere. Basically, it's just, you get your $3 million, you can't share it with your spouse, you can't port it over to your spouse. So you really have to be intentional through the estate plan to make sure that you're both qualifying for that $3 million and that your assets are lined up accordingly. It doesn't do us a lot of good for one spouse to say, let's have $6 million of assets because they own the farm entity and all of the land in their own personal name, and then for the wife not to have anything in their name. Because what if the wrong person dies, okay? Wife dies first. She has 0 assets in her name, which means that there's nothing for us to protect at her death. We have not used any amount of that $3 million exemption that she has. Instead, we want to split that $6 million, put half in wife's name, half in husband's name. Now they both have their $3 million of assets. And when one of them dies, doesn't matter, we'll protect that $3 million and latch on to our deduction by using that credit shelter trust or revocable trust. So what should you do as a farmer, knowing what's going on in Washington and that we're getting this new permanent exemption of $15 million? Well, you can breathe a little sigh of relief if you were worried that the rollback to $7 million would have all of a sudden caused you to owe a massive estate tax, but you're not done. If you live in Minnesota or one of the other 11 states that has an estate tax, you still need to plan. You still need to make sure that you're moving forward with that farm succession plan. If you're in Minnesota, especially, it's so important because our exemption amount is so low at $3 million. Even small farms are going to be taxed in Minnesota with that low estate tax exemption, unless you have a good estate plan and a good farm lawyer. So if you like this video, subscribe, watch more, reach out if you want to talk strategy. I'm Jason Wagner, the farm lawyer. I work with family farmers every single day to help them pass on the farm to the next generation. Let me know how I can help you.